So this is a problem where I have some data here and I need to model it with a trig function without using regression methods in my calculator. So when you think about creating trig functions from data, you need to find a few things. You need to find the amplitude. You need to find out where the midline is. You need to figure out the period. And you need to figure out if there's any type of horizontal shift. Now, when I look at this, I see a horizontal shift. That's always the most tricky for most students. I see a horizontal shift because the high point is here in February. So that means normally with the cosine graph, I guess I'll draw it here. Normally with a cosine graph, you start at the high point on the axis and you go down. Well, this is starting at the high point 1 unit away from the axes, because I'm going to have January be my axes. So that means that I actually have a horizontal shift right 1 unit. That's really important. The period is 12 months. My midline, well, in order to calculate the midline, if you think about it, it happens right in the middle, halfway between the high point and the low point. And my amplitude is also actually halfway between the high point and the low point. So if I look at my graph, my high point occurs in February. High point. And that high point is about, I don't know, you could say 150, 151. I'm going to say 152. My low point, anywhere in that region is fine. My low point looks like it occurs in August, and it's 20. So the distance between, total distance, is 152 minus 20, which gives me, well, what is 152 minus 20? I don't want to think about it right now off the top of my head. So 152 minus 20 gives me 132. So the total distance is 132, but that tells me then that my amplitude is going to be half of that. So the total distance divided by 2 is going to give me my amplitude of 66. And the A value is actually going to be positive because my cosine graph starts at the top and goes down. It's not upside down from a normal cosine graph. Now my midline occurs at the low point plus 66. So my low point is 20 plus 66 is going to give me my amplitude, my midline, which then is going to occur at 86. So that's y equal 86. Now, based on all this information, I have to come up with my basic cosine function, y equals a cosine b x plus c plus d. Now, also remember, since I have a horizontal shift, it's going to be a cosine b times the quantity x plus c over b plus d. Now, that looks complicated, but don't let it fool you. It's not that bad. Okay, now A has to do with the amplitude. So I'm going to say A is 66, and we decided it was positive because of the shape of the graph, starting high and going low. B, my value, has to do with my period, which is 2 pi over my period, or pi over 6. C is not 1 unit. C over B is actually 1 unit. So C over B is equal to minus 1. It's minus because I'm going right, and it's C over B because this guy right here is actually my horizontal shift. Then D is going to be where my midline is, so D is going to equal 86. So then my function turns out to be 66 cosine pi over 6 times quantity x minus 1 plus 86. Now, how do I know if that's right? Well, I'm going to go to my little graphing calculator. and go to my y equals menu, and I'm going to type in this function. So 66 cosine, and I'm going to put pi over 6 in parentheses, and then x minus 1 in parentheses. That way my horizontal shift is going to come out right, plus 86. Now, I guess I'm in y2. I don't know what happened there. And now I'm going to put my midline here just so that I can make sure it's smack in the middle. Go to my window. Well, if I look at my data, my x values are my months from 0 to 12. My y minimum, I like it to be at 0, even though the y min is 0, I put it there at 0. My high is about 152, so I'm going to go up a little higher than that at 160. And then see how it looks. So here comes the graph. There's midline. Here comes my graph. And you can see it's a little lower first and then higher here, and that's great. All right, it's not too bad. I mean, if you compare it to that graph right there. Now, what we really want to see is how this data fits with this data. So if I go to my table and delete all these values out. So January is 0 day, and that's about 143, which here it's a little bit bigger than 140. February is month 1. And notice that's 152, which is what I had. And so see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So July is 6. And I'm at 28.82, which is slightly higher than what I, just a little under 30, which is what this mark is. August is 7. So I'm at 20. So this doesn't seem like it's a bad fit with my data. So there you have the model that fits my data.